Welcome, wanderers, to abyss of horror, where the shadows of history whisper their darkest secrets. Tonight, we peel back the veil of time to explore the depraved minds of three men who turned the Middle Ages into a nightmare. They were architects of unspeakable horror, reveling in the suffering of others, their twisted legacies still haunting the corridors of history. Gather close, for tonight, we delve into the abyss. Number 1, Ivan the Terrible, the Tsar of Terror. Ivan IV. Vasilievich, remembered as Ivan the Terrible, began his rule as a young and ambitious leader seeking to unite a fractured Russia. His reign began with hope, but soon spiraled into a descent of paranoia and bloodlust. After the suspicious death of his beloved wife, Anastasia, Ivan's paranoia grew insurmountable. He saw enemies everywhere, even among his closest allies. This fear birthed the Oprichnina, a shadowy police force that operated with impunity. They swept through towns, torturing and executing anyone Ivan perceived as a threat. The massacres were unrelenting. Entire families were erased, villages burned to ashes. Ivan was notorious for inventing tortures that prolonged suffering, such as boiling his victims alive or impaling them on iron spikes. He delighted in the agony he inflicted, watching his victims die slowly while their screams echoed through his chambers. One of Ivan's most infamous atrocities occurred in Novgorod, a city he accused of treason. He ordered a massacre of horrifying proportions. Thousands were drowned, beaten, or tortured to death. The blood of innocents ran like rivers through the streets. Even Ivan's personal life was stained with cruelty. In a fit of rage, he struck his own son and heir, Ivan Ivanovich, with his iron staff, killing him instantly. The act left him consumed by guilt, but not enough to temper his violent reign. Ivan's rule was a reign of terror that left Russia trembling in his shadow, a legacy of fear that endures to this day. Number 2, Vlad the Impaler, the real-life Dracula. Vlad III, better known as Vlad the Impaler, was a man whose name became synonymous with unspeakable cruelty. Born in Transylvania in 1431, his early life was marked by political turmoil and personal tragedy. Born into a life of betrayal and strife, Vlad learned from a young age that survival in Wallachia required blood, and he was all too eager to provide it. His father's murder and his own imprisonment by the Ottomans shaped his ruthless worldview. Upon taking power in 1456, Vlad sought to secure his throne through fear. His preferred method of punishment was impalement, a fate so grotesque it defied comprehension. This brutal technique became his trademark, earning him the moniker Vlad the Impaler. The goal was not merely execution, but to inspire terror so profound that even his enemies would hesitate to challenge him. Vlad's reputation for cruelty spread far beyond the borders of Wallachia. When the Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II invaded Wallachia in 1462, he was greeted with one of history's most horrifying spectacles. Mehmed, known as the conqueror of Constantinople, was about to face a foe unlike any he had encountered before. A forest of impaled corpses. Over 20,000 men, women, and children left as a grim warning. This forest of the impaled was Vlad's masterpiece of psychological warfare, designed to break the spirit of the invading army before a single battle was fought. The sight was so appalling that Mehmed turned his army back, unwilling to face a man capable of such calculated savagery. Vlad's reputation as a defender against Ottoman invasion was cemented, but at a horrific cost. But Vlad's cruelty extended beyond his enemies. He ruled his people with the same iron hand, punishing even minor offenses with death. His concept of justice was absolute and merciless, creating a reign of terror that touched every aspect of daily life in Wallachia. It is no wonder that he became the inspiration for Bram Stoker's Dracula. Yet his real-life horrors eclipse the fictional vampire's legend. Vlad's legacy of blood and terror would endure far beyond his own lifetime, inspiring both fear and fascination for centuries to come. And his name continues to evoke terror centuries after his death. Vlad the Impaler remains a chilling reminder of the depths of human cruelty and the enduring power of fear. In the annals of history's most ruthless rulers, Vlad the Impaler stands out as a figure of unparalleled brutality. His reign of terror may have ended, but the echoes of his cruelty continue to resonate through time. Number 3, Gilles de Rais, the Beast of Brittany. Gilles de Rais was once a celebrated hero, a nobleman who fought alongside Joan of Arc and defended France from English invaders. But behind the mask of a knight lay a man whose soul was blackened by depravity. After Joan's execution, Gilles turned away from the battlefield and descended into a life of darkness. Obsessed with wealth and power, he dabbled in alchemy and dark rituals, believing he could summon supernatural forces to grant his desires. But his pursuits took a monstrous turn. Gilles began abducting children, luring them to his castles with promises of food and safety. What followed were acts of unimaginable cruelty. Gilles tortured and killed his young victims, delighting in their agony. He strangled, mutilated, and dismembered them, often taking part in ritualistic elements that defied human comprehension. His crimes escalated to such an extent that the local villages lived in constant fear of losing their children to the monstrous lord. The once lively villages became ghost towns, as families lived in constant terror of the monster in their midst. When his atrocities were finally exposed, the scale of his depravity shocked even the hardened officials of the time. Gilles de Rais confessed to his crimes, showing no remorse, as though he took pride in the terror he had wrought. He was sentenced to death by hanging in 1440, his monstrous reign brought to an end. Despite his execution, Gilles' story remains one of the darkest chapters in medieval history. His crimes were so heinous that many believed he had sold his soul to the devil, a legacy that has haunted the lands of Brittany for centuries. Their actions are not just relics of history. They are reminders of the horrors humanity is capable of when power, paranoia, and depravity go unchecked. These were not merely rulers. They were monsters in human form. Could these horrors happen again? Or worse, are they already happening, hidden from view? If you have braved the darkness with me tonight, I challenge you to take a step further into the abyss. Comment below with the word eternal to let me know you've survived this journey through horror. For now, the night is yours, but the nightmares have only just begun.